So, welcome. We're all here, and we're happy with that. Your Majesty, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Europe's contribution to world civilization are notable and have influenced many aspects of modern life, rooted in free thought, free speech, solidarity, entrepreneurship, and also a lot of hard work. Europe has played a significant role in global development for centuries. Will it always be like that? Well, the leading position is increasingly uncertain. Several factors now challenge Europe's competitiveness and welfare. And Mario Draghi, in his report, The Future of European Competitiveness, highlights some of the obstacles. And numbers of facts are actually quite concerning. And it affects not only companies, but also the way European citizens perceive their future. It impacts how we generate and consume energy, maintain energy security, build sustainable infrastructure, invest, how we do business, and how we exercise our freedom to choose our own destiny. We want to stress today the urgency. The challenges we face are larger than national economies. A recent Business Europe study shows that energy prices are 2-3 times higher than in Asia than in the US. And this price gap has a profound implication, affecting European jobs, industrial output, energy supply, and energy security. We must secure European stability and make Europe the best place to do business. And this is why I'm pleased that we are gathered here in Sønderborg. We need to discuss Europe's competitiveness, energy security, and the global climate. And our main objective here is to generate ideas, exchange perspectives, and constructively agree or disagree. Instead of collaborating and seeking synergies, we often, unfortunately, operate too nationally. We are too fragmented, and by that we risk our ability to secure energy security and reduce emissions. We must address these challenges, find solutions, and emerge stronger. If EU is to remain an attractive destination for new green investments, Europe must just be as attractive for doing business as other parts in the world, Asia and the US. And of course there's hope. The International Energy Agency recent report shows that a greener and brighter future is possible with the right policies and the right industry strategies. Dr. Birol said, we've witnessed the age of coal, the age of oil. Now we are moving into the age of electricity. That's encouraging. But the prediction is highly driven by Asian energy transition. So Europe must speed up and turn this around. In Draghi's words, decarbonization must become a source of growth. So our discussions here today are not only theoretical exercises. They are critical to shaping a future where Europe can thrive. We need to act with a sense of shared destiny and common purpose. This is not just a matter of economic survival. It's about ensuring that the values of freedom, democracy, and innovation continue to flourish this continent. I am confident that our interactions over the next hours will bring us closer together. We are honored, we are excited to gather you all here in the global capital of energy efficiency in Sønderborg. We are honored to gather key business leaders, European organizations, policymakers pursuing the same agenda, the same vision, the same ambition to improve European competitiveness and climate action. We hope that this meeting will send a strong signal, a vote of hope and confidence to political leaders, including the incoming European Commission. We're here to power Europe and to help navigate the next steps towards a sustainable and competitive future. Lastly, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to partners behind this event, not least Danfoss, the International Energy Agency, Business Europe. The knowledge, analysis, and engagement you bring to this debate is absolutely vital. And our commitment to working on the messages from this meeting is crucial. We will continue to advocate for business ideas to be heard by policymakers and translated into effective policies and tangible changes. Our ambition is that our collective actions today will actually determine the Europe of tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Your Majesty, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome as we meet to power European industry. That's our task. Nothing more, nothing less. Despite the rather gloomy outlook with a war in Europe and the Middle East, a global climate crisis, and maybe a transatlantic crisis in the making. My name is Lykke Friis, a name which is impossible to pronounce for non-Danes, so take your pick. The best one was when I, as Denmark's Minister of Climate, had the honor of opening COP16 in Cancun and was introduced as Madam Lucky Friis of Denmark. I'm honored to moderate this important conference here in Sønderborg, a city which our first speaker in 2022 called the International Capital of Energy Efficiency. Without offending the local football club, Sønderjyske, I can safely say that it's not a capital of football. But since our next speaker, or first speaker, is an honorary life member of Galatasaray, it may be of interest, at least to him, that Sønderjyske has just bought one of his club's players. Anyway, it is the greatest pleasure that I can now give the floor to the Executive Director of the International Energy Agency, Dr. Birol. So let's hear how Europe can master the topic of today. And thank you so much for coming.
Your Majesty, dear colleagues, a very good morning to all of you. It is always a great pleasure to come to Denmark. And there are two cities in Denmark. They have a special importance for me. One of them is this very city, because I guess many of you have followed the COP28 in Emirates. And it was one of the most consequential COP meetings. And for that meeting as IEA, we have suggested two things to be agreed by almost 200 governments around the world. One of them was tripling the renewable capacity. Second one was doubling the global energy efficiency. Now, doubling the energy efficiency came to IEA, the bright IEA experts' mind during a meeting we had in Sønderborg in the year 2022, the Global Energy Efficiency Conference. And as I told my friend Kim, and to many of you, after that formulation of that statement, I consider this city as the international capital of energy efficiency, and I am very happy to come to Sønderborg. So this is the reason, this is one of the cities that attracts me a lot. The second one is Copenhagen. And I think nobody can imagine why Copenhagen is so important for me. Maybe our able board chair, Dr. Anders Hoffmann, he knows me very well. In the year 2000, 17th of May 2000, my football team became the European champion, defeating Arsenal. I know there are many strong Arsenal supporters here in the room. Sorry for them, but for the first time, and I'm sure it's the last time, we became European champion. So therefore, Copenhagen, especially the Parken Stadium, has an important significance for me. So I'm very happy to come to Copenhagen as well. So, dear colleagues, today, however, we are going to talk about something which I believe very important for Europe and maybe more important than many of us realize, which is the economic future of Europe. I believe, and I say from the beginning, I'm a man of numbers. When I look at the numbers, I believe European economy is today at a make or break juncture in its history. And this is worrying, especially the manufacturing sector, the industry sector is facing historical challenges. But before telling you what the challenges and what the causes and what maybe the solutions are, I have to make sure that I see Europe as a source of inspiration for millions of, hundreds of millions of people around the world, with its humanitarian values, with its cultural values, with its social values. Europe is the source of inspiration for hundreds of millions of people as a bastion of democracy. This is very important to underline. Having said that, European economy, Europe's weight, political weight in the world is facing major challenges. Now, and most of these challenges are related to, in my view, what we did and what we are doing in the energy sector. Dear colleagues, I like history. I'm sure many of you do. When I look at the recent history, last few decades, in my view, Europe made 3 historical strategic mistakes. And I want to tell you what I believe they are. Number 1, most of the European countries had the over-reliance of imports from one single country. And we said it several times. If you look at the Financial Times in the 2004, 20 years ago, the IES chief economist, whoever he was at that time, said that Germany should diversify its imports from Russia, otherwise it might be risky. Don't put all the eggs in one basket. 2004. And we have repeated this. And we heard that from our colleagues, many European colleagues, Russia would never do such a thing. And we see that Russia did such a thing. And now the European economy is paying for that and will pay for that for some time to come. It was a historical strategic mistake. The second one, and I guess we may not all be agreeing on this, but I will still say, I think Europe made a big strategic historical mistake by turning its shoulder back to nuclear power. In the 1990s, 30%, almost one-third of European electricity came from nuclear power. And some countries decided to phase out. Some countries didn't bother to build nuclear power plants. And very soon, this 30% is coming down to 15%. I have no problem that people like or dislike, but we didn't have how to replace that net zero permanent electricity source. And this is we lost a big source of electricity, homemade, just generated in Europe. This is the second one. Third and the last one is the following. Today, I'm sure many of you know, but I just want to underline again, the number one, but by far the number one source of new power plants built in the world is solar, by far, above everything. And today, 80% of solar panels produced in the world are in China, which is in Asia. So, but when you go back again 20 years ago, it was Europe who started the solar manufacturing 20 years ago. German, Spanish, Italian subsidies. Europe was the leader of the solar panel manufacturing. But after 4 or 5 years, Europe dropped the ball. China took it over, and today China is dominating the game. Innovation technologies is like running a marathon, which is 42 kilometers. If you finish the 42 kilometers, you get the gold medal. If you finish first 10 kilometers the first, like Europe did, nobody remembers you. No, in any marathon runs, nobody remembers who finished the first 10 kilometers first. Important thing is to finish the 42 kilometers. So Europe didn't have a consistent strategy and let it to other countries. So as a result, these three, in my view, major three different areas, strategic, historical mistakes, relying on one single country, natural gas, oil, uranium, many things. Second, turning away from a major source of electricity generation, nuclear power. And third, dropping the solar ball costed us a lot. And now, today, we have, therefore, three major challenges for our industry. Challenge number one is the cost of energy. Today, many European industries are facing a major problem of competitiveness because the cost of energy is much higher than their competitors. Natural gas in Europe is 5 times higher than in the United States. Electricity price in Europe is 3 times higher than in China. How come the industries such as the cement, such as the iron steel, such as the chemicals, and the others can compete with the Chinese or the Americans or Middle East or Indian when their production cost is so high? This is number one, the challenge that we are facing with the existing industries. Second, tomorrow's industries, such as the solar PV, such as wind, such as electric cars, such as batteries, China is dominating the game. When you look at all these clean energy technologies, China's share is 70%, 70%. And United States, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act they put together a few years ago, is coming slowly but surely. And Europe is behind these two economies. So this is the second challenge for the tomorrow's industries, after the first challenge with the energy cost with the existing industries. And third challenge is, and maybe this is a different type of challenge, in Europe, as we have a democracy, which is our strength, but at the same time, we have to get many countries around a strategy and get a unique position to move forward. This is a challenge in itself. On one hand, it's very beautiful to have democracy, but on the other hand, it's a challenge because to have a unified strategy is a big problem. In certain instances, we have seen that. So these are the three big challenges which are putting the Europe's competitiveness at risk big time. So what do we do in this context, especially for the industry sector? Now, 2 years ago, I wrote an op-ed in the FT saying that Europe needs a new industry master plan. Very simply, we have to do two things. Number one, our existing industries, who are the backbone of our economy and employment, they have a major cost disadvantage, as I said. I think we have to find a way, not all of them, but at least some of them, to support them and to survive and to bridge that cost gap. If we leave it as it is, I can tell you, we will get one after another bad news. Bad news in terms of downsizing the industries, relocating the industries, loss of employment, and which could lead to political consequences. Because it would provide a fertile ground for the extreme people to abuse this context. Here, one good news, though, and I see my colleague Tim Gould is here, our chief economist. He is here. From the World Energy Outlook, one good news is the following. When we look at the oil and gas markets, we are, after so many years, coming to a period of 3-4 years where we see a downward pressure on the prices. For many reasons, if you wish, I can explain you demand, supply, etc. But we are going to see downward pressure on the prices. Look at as IE has rightly predicted, oil markets in a comfort zone. Today, oil markets are less than $70 oil prices, while we see in Middle East a major war is taking place. In the past, it would have gone to triple digits because markets are going to a comfortable time, and it will be more so in the next years to come unless we see major geopolitical tensions. So this will help to our existing industries, but we still have to support them if we want at least some of them to survive. This is our job number one. Job number two, maybe more important, for tomorrow's industries, not the legacy today's industries, tomorrow's clean energy. I am worried that Europe will miss the train of being an important player in tomorrow's modern industries. In 1990s, there was the Internet revolution, and United States and China, they have created the champions of technologies. Europe was not very successful. I am worried that we may again see the same movie, miss the train of missing the boat of being an important player there. And when I look at today, to be honest with you, we have all the risks that we may again miss the train. And we cannot, if we leave everything to our usual policies, usual tools, usual instruments, I can tell you honestly that Europe will not be a major player in tomorrow's clean energy technology. Will be an important player, but not a leading one, which I would like to see. And here, I think we have to do two things. One on trade, The other one is on the having a different perspective for tomorrow's industry. In the trade, for Europe, trade is very important than many other countries. About 50% of the European GDP comes from trade, which is for China, it is about 35%, Europe 20%. And our trade policies, in my view, should be or should benefit from a review of how we can protect our own industries without distorting the markets, distorting our trade position. It is, we cannot leave it just as it is, and we have to see how we can have a, as I call it, a bit more muscular trade policy here. Second, we have to look the new clean energy technologies, in which of them Europe has the chance to have a good position. In some of them, we already missed the train. We cannot run after them, and we have to admit that we missed the train there. But there are some of them that we have an important competitive advantage. What are those? Renewables. And here, I would like to mention two of them, most important being the offshore. We have a huge advantage of offshore wind, and if we use in terms of the manufacturing I am talking about, if we support them, we can have a good position. And we were leading, but now other countries are coming. We can definitely play another important player, if not the leading player in the world. The second one is an electricity side. Grids, transformers, electric equipments. We have a lot of good industries in Europe. They can, with the support, they can be leaders around the world. As our first speaker said, we see that there was the age of coal after the Industrial Revolution. The world moved to oil and gas age, and we are seeing the age of electricity is coming. Therefore, we can benefit from that. Putting grids, transformers, the companies in front. Heat pumps. We have a good companies in Europe to be a leader. In terms of efficiency policies, again, we have an advantage vis-à-vis others to be a leader. So we have to choose which one of them, and we have to support them as much as we can. In my view, more and more energy, industry, and trade policies will be more and more interwoven. If a country, if an economy is able to harmonize these three of them together, I think it will be definitely a good news for them and for their economies. Dear colleagues, as I said, I don't want to be alarming. I am not alarming, but I want to give everybody a heads up, all of us here, there, everywhere. The new commission, as I said, as I told the Madam President, I believe new commission has three important tasks in front of them. Number one, competitiveness. Number two, competitiveness. Number three, competitiveness. These are the three ones. If we don't do that, it is not only economic. It is not only economy. If your economy is weak, at the international fora, political affairs, geopolitical issues, you are not taken as serious as you were before. If your economy is weak, if you don't give prosperity to your citizens. As I said, it provides a fertile ground for the extreme groups the abuse. So it is not only economy, it is the jobs, it is the welfare. I might have sounded a bit pessimistic, but there are also reasons to be optimistic about Europe. First, we have a large population in Europe when you look at the population. And second, we have a huge economy. The EU economy is today the third one in the world. If you put UK and Norway together, it's the largest economy in the world. We have a single market, very important. We have a know-how, skilled labor, many skilled labor. Europe still attracts to come here. And when we come together, when Europe comes together, we show that we have been able to achieve a lot. I give you two examples. The recent one is after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we have a European energy crisis, no energy. And some people thought Europe would freeze, European economy would be collapsing. But Europe came together, had a plan, and thanks to this plan, Europe was able to get out of the crisis with some bruise here and there, but Europe didn't freeze, and economy get some bruise but didn't collapse because we were together. Second, during the COVID-19, again, Europe had a good strategy and brought vaccination to its millions of citizens, and it was handled in the best possible way because we did have a strategy there. So, dear colleagues, to finish, I believe we have a huge challenge. The first thing is we should be aware that this is a huge challenge, and we cannot deal with this challenge with our business as usual tools and instruments. Second, we have to act quickly. And if we are not able to address this competitiveness issue, Europe is going to lose its weight economically and politically, which is not a good news, I believe, for the climate change, for the democracy of this world. But we have again and again shown that Europe is able to come together and address these major challenges and succeed. And I very much hope that it will be the case this time too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Birol, for this excellent analysis, speech, and also for your 3 C's. And I do remember, by the way, your football fans in Copenhagen. They did sort of create quite a stir, one will have to say. There was also a upbeat spirit in your talk. One can almost say, yes, we can spirit. And that is my perfect segue to our next speaker, Kim Fausing, President and CEO of Danfoss, a company with a yes, we can spirit. You have reached carbon neutrality factory in Sønderborg. And for those of you who haven't seen it, you can see it at 2 o'clock later. So Kim, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Løkke, Your Majesty, distinguished guests, dear friends. I'm really impressed when I look out in the room here today, and I want to give you a warm welcome back for some of you, or for the first time back to Sønderborg. And we really appreciate that you are here today. Yeah, thank you, Løkke. We are trying to show the way, and I think. To my friend Fatih, thank you very much for setting the scene. Thank you, Thomas, for outlining very well where we are standing. Yes, we can, right? It's a big statement, right? And I think you have done a great job outlining the big issues on the European economy and also on the competitiveness that is under pressure. And that's, of course, also why we are here. Timing is is really driving urgency. It's you can say competitiveness are now really on the top of the agenda. I think, Fatih, you outlined this very well why. Mr. Draghi have also composed a very good report on where we are standing in Europe, and it's all about competitiveness overall seen. And I think it's very important, and there's no doubt that this is the big issue we have. So what are the solutions? And I just think timing is always important, right? And maybe we need the urgency to get moving, right? And it seems that this urgency is really building across Europe. It's on the agenda of many leaders today. And I really sincerely hope this is going to be the kickstart of a new phase in Europe. You know, so that's why we're also here, because of that. We have the new commission taking office, very soon, and we have also even a commitment that we will have in the first 100 days a new industrial clean deal coming out. So we have the humble hope that even here, cross-industry players, we can make a few good recommendations of where the really hot spots are to moving forward. And no, Danfoss is a global technology company, so we have around a third of our business in Americas, we have around a third in Europe of our business, we have around a third in Asia, so we are relatively global in our setup. But it's very clear for us, we have really hard for Europe, and we can see the things are not developing as they should. So what are the levers? There are certain important levers, and we have heard about them. I want to focus in on some of the areas, particularly one area where we have very strong competences in Europe, but we are not really running them at full speed. Competitive decarbonization is a fantastic opportunity. And when we were here in 2022, where the IEA had the 7th annual global conference on energy efficiency, where you motivated us, Fatih, incredibly by giving us this title of the Global Capital of Energy Efficiency. You know, we still use that, and I can tell you we have not been waiting in the meantime. This area where you are here, you hope you go to some of the tours, we continue to decarbonize, and we still believe we can be there 2029. So this is a great opportunity for Europe. And it could not only be the right thing to do, it could also be really driving Europe's competitiveness. It can also drive a great opportunity to growth and for growth. But we are not alone. It's not that Europe is the only place in the world where we have understood that competitive decarbonization is important, so therefore we really need speed. Mario Draghi have also said it, decarbonization has to become a source of growth. You know, but how do we really, in a competitive way, do this? I think there's good news because we do have the technologies for this. First, efficiency, and on the COP28 targets that was related to this morning, I think there's actually arrows pointing towards we can actually triple our renewable part in our energy infrastructure to 2030. But we are not on track on energy efficiency today. There's a lot to do. And it's a great opportunity because it's the area where all the low-hanging fruits really are to harvest. We know it because we are one of the providers, like many other companies, of the technology. Second of all, it is the age of electrification. We have a lot of that technology in Europe, but we need to double down on these technologies where we really want to win. And it's a tough place out there right now if you look at the EV situation in Europe. But it's big industrial sectors in Europe that we cannot lose. And therefore, we really need to know where we want to win and double down on those areas. Last, we need to integrate sectors. There's an incredible potential, and we see it every day. So when we talk to the people who run data centers like Google, where we have a close cooperation, there's a lot of excess heat out there. But we need to be innovative. We need to integrate it in our energy systems. If you look at Frankfurt today in 2030, if we integrate the data center capacity around Frankfurt, actually. That could actually provide the whole heating for Frankfurt in 2030, right? But we need to do it. So my you could say, yes, we can. Løkke is, the good news is we have these technologies, and they are on the shelf. We show here, we show many other places, many companies show the way in this, and the really good news is that the right headline is competitiveness. Maybe some think, but decarbonization, does it make us more competitive? And some technologies you can certainly question, but the vast majority, it's 3-year payback time or less when we decarbonize our sites. It's base core technology, and we just need to do it. So it's really good business. And then I guess, why are we then just not doing it? If it's there. It's my frequently most asked question to me. Why are we not just doing it? And I think on the political level, we need to be clear what we want. Because, you can see at the development right now, are we pleased with the development and the speed, or are we not pleased? And I think that the key view from us in the industry, we are not pleased. We need more speed. So what is it that is missing? I think the very clear picture is that in the political side today, there's a lot of focus on very long-term things, and it's also good that there is. But there's a lot of low-hanging fruits that we are really not caring about. And if you look at it right now, there's a lot of stop-and-go dynamics in Europe. So there's the renewable example, which you can discuss whether it was just a stop. Look at the solar; it has been up and down, stop and go since then. If you look at the current heat pump market in Europe, Germany is 50% down year over year, and here we have many companies build a lot of capacity. District heating networks build out, stopped. EVs in a big turmoil right now, so we should not let that happen. So what is it? And there we see what we need additionally to all the good technology we have is really this entrepreneurial mindset. We need to get back in Europe where we believe in the future. We should be happy to invest in Europe because there's a reliable and there's a long-term plan. And that's not stop and go. We need what I would call a master plan or a well-defined, effective, I would say long-term regulation where we are actually regulating. So I'm the last one to ask for bureaucracy. I would actually like much less bureaucracy. And I think there's a lot of potential to remove a lot of bureaucracy. But what I would like is effective regulation in some of these areas where you don't have a stop and go. It's very hard for us in the industry to invest if we don't know what's ahead of us. We do a lot of it. But if things are up and down all the time, it's very hard to build a reliable business. And I can tell you the mindset in certain other areas. So the Inflation Reduction Act has a 10-year perspective. And I think you also know in Asia the mindset on timing and the long-term thinking in the areas we are doubling down on. And that's what we are asking for, to have this attractive incentives that are simple and easy. What kills speed in any company is complexity. It's something I fight every day together with my team. When you get larger, you get more complex, you can kill a company. So we always work to be simple, to be fast. But I also say in Europe, complexity is pulling down speed. So we need to find simple ways. And I hope we can also these days find a few good recommendations to the new Commission that can help to get Europe back and at least have one growth driver that we can surely put our hand in the fire on in Danfoss, that on competitive decarbonization, we can still win that. And I think you could never underestimate Europe. And I'm a stubborn optimist. If that's, yes, we can, Løkke, I don't know, but I'm a stubborn optimist. And Europe has strong competences in these areas from many solid companies who know how to do this. And I think we need to get that out with full horsepower and cut some of all the bureaucracy and red tape and make sure we have a long-term plan. And I hope we can give that input to the new Commission. I hope they will help us. We will do our part. It's not that we want to delegate responsibility. I think that's why we are all here around the table. And I hope we can give a few recommendations for how we can get Europe back on track. At least in Danfoss, we can help on the competitive decarbonization side, which can be an absolute, very strong competitive force going forward. So let's turn this great challenge into a new start and making Europe a great place to invest in again going forward. So thank you very much, and thank you very much to my colleagues.
Mit Englisch kommt man durch, mit Deutsch kommt man weiter. I think this was confirmed when His Majesty the King spoke in German last week in Berlin on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the opening of the joint Nordic Embassy complex. Allow me to refer to a part of the speech where His Majesty put it very aptly concerning the Danish-German relationship. Wenn die E45 zur A7 wurde, ging die Reise richtig los. Alle Wege führten zum neuen Abenteuer. Today's language is English, and I presume that the Autobahn E45 here in Sønderborg is more attractive than the A7, all things considered. We will also be looking at a different kind of adventure as we address the green transition and the role that energy plays in it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great honor to give the floor to His Majesty King Frederik for the final opening remarks. Your Majesty.
Thank you very much, Løkke, for your introduction and being quoted in German from my German speech the other day in Berlin. It was a great thing and an experience for me, probably the pinnacle of my career in German, speaking 9.5 minutes in German. But it made sense to me and it made sense to the crowd. And we were proud also to commend what Germany has done and what Germany stands for Denmark, for Danish industry. It's the locomotive. And we really hope that that locomotive will carry on, although there are challenges, as we've just heard from Fatih Birol and from Kim Fausing. I will not come with a prophetic foreseeing things, because that's not where I am right now. I'll start to refer to this city, which has a big place in my heart, because as a young man, I lived in the army barracks that some of you have noticed right here, looking down upon this area. Beautiful barracks. And I stayed here in Sønderborg during my first years of climbing the military command chain. In those years, energy came from within. Now, while we aren't climbing the command chain here today, we do find ourselves in a situation where energy security is at stake, where demand exceeds production, and where the climate crisis demands our urgent attention. We're facing what the partners behind this conference have aptly called the twin challenges of European competitiveness and the clean energy transition. We want to keep moving forward without trampling the planet in the process. It's a complex challenge, yes, but it's not a dilemma. A dilemma, as you know, refers to a situation where one must make a difficult choice between two equal options, and either or. The twin challenges we face today are not that. We must and can address both at the same time. Although it won't be easy, it is achievable. We are at a critical juncture in Europe, with multiple crises unfolding, a war in Ukraine, tensions in the Middle East, energy security issues, and the climate challenges are pressing, because climate knows no borders. So it's not an exercise, this is a real situation. Our collective response is a vision that says to turn the global green transition into a competitive advantage. Achieving this will require innovation and collaboration on a scale we have not seen before. We need to engage our brightest minds, our strongest hands, and our most ambitious business and political leaders. We need to learn from some of the best examples, some of which are very close by. My hope is that Sønderborg and Denmark can serve as an inspiring example of a business case that is both sustainable and profitable. And that is one of the reasons why bringing policymakers and organizations and thought leaders together with European industry right here today and the next 24 hours is an important step in the right direction and a proof of the collective willingness to confront and solve the challenges together. I really hope that you can convey further south in Brussels some good conclusions and wishes for Ursula von der Leyen and her team. But I'm confident from this podium that we can build a more sustainable, resilient, and stronger Europe. A Europe that not only meets today's challenges, but also paves the way for a brighter future for generations after us, our children, our grandchildren, and etc. So we keep that in mind because we don't inherit the planet, as many people have already said before me. We pass it on, and we'll be remembered from that passing on. With these words, I wish you, of course, a very productive and successful day. Thank you.